Steven, this is Bob Timberlake. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Welcome to Kingdom Cast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We are sitting here today, and we are honored to be sitting here with world-renowned artist, author, Bob Timberlake. How's it feel, Nate?
Oh, it feels awesome.
Feels pretty good.
Grandfather and great-grandfather. Wait a minute.
Oh,
That's my best accomplishments, too, by the way. My children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
that's right.
Absolutely.
Very proud
Best
of it.
thing I ever had in my life. The most valuable thing in my life. And the best thing is my better 3/4, 67 years. If I hadn't fortunately gotten married and met her, well, I've known her all her life, I'd probably be in a ditch somewhere or something. But she's the wind beneath my wings.
Absolutely.
That's Miss K.
Yep.
Miss K. I got Miss Tiffany.
Yep. I got Miss Kim.
Just kidding.
I've been married for, this year will be 16 years. Ain't you right there with me, ain't you?
Yeah, 16 years.
16 years.
67.
67 years.
That's an
She's
accomplishment.
put
That
up
is an
with. She's
accomplishment.
put up with me. And I really known her all her life. She's 85. I'm 87. So, but I've known her since she was actually born, and she's about the only person in the county that I'm not kin to. And she's kin to everybody I'm not kin to. So whatever. Except Nate.
That's right. That's right.
And if we go back far enough,
It may be. You never know.
You want to talk about that hunting and fishing now, Nate?
Yeah. So we got some couple questions. If you had to pick a favorite game to hunt, what would be that?
it would be probably quail, and just because of not the quail or shooting or anything else, it's because of the dogs and being out there and
Right.
being out in the woods. And we were talking earlier
Yeah.
that my church that we go to every Sunday is on South Main Street here in Lexington, but my cathedral is really out
That's it.
in the woods.
That's it.
And it's I don't go in the woods or fields or whatever without coming home with something.
Yeah.
And it's true. It really is the truth.
That's right. So what would be your favorite fish to catch?
Favorite fish?
Yeah.
Well, I love fish. I eat anything. I had oysters yesterday. I had oysters the day before. And I eat trout. I eat tuna. I eat raw tuna and sushi and everything else. So I'm not sure that's like asking me if I got a favorite granddaughter or grandson.
Right.
No, I love seafood.
Right.
I know that trout
I'm
the
a
other
nut.
day. That trout looked really delicious.
It
You
did.
saw the bones.
Yeah, I did. Wasn't nothing
And the
like
head. The head was there, but actually the cheeks weren't there. The head was there.
Yeah.
The eyeballs were still there. But no, I love, we do, as we talked about, do most of the catch and release,
Mhm.
obviously, but my grandson, everybody else brings me some fish.
Yeah.
And I'll eat, if you bring it to me, I'll eat it. A friend of mine, I stopped yesterday to say hey, and he gave me a whole bag of sour pie cherries. I can hardly get it out. He just picked them off his tree, and they weren't pitted though. By the way, I asked him about that. Why didn't he put them? But anyway, but that's something we have to have every year. Is a good sour pie cherry pie.
Yeah.
Can't get it out in all those words.
That's good. Now, also, I've heard that you do a lot of conservation work.
Do a little bit all my life. I've worked, of course, with Iron Eyes Cody and Keep America Beautiful. That's since 1975, but I've done conservation stuff since I was born. We were outdoors picking up trash and everything else before we knew what picking up trash was.
Right.
And all that. I grew up at High Rock Lake a lot. We cleaned up the lake around where we lived, and we kept it clean. Kept old tires and mess, out from where we were.
Mm-hmm.
And back then we swam in the lake and everything else. But it's just, I don't know, it was just something that we naturally did to protect our environment. We didn't call it environment. It was our world. It was God's world that He gave us, and we played in, and we respected it. And my dad did, my grandfather did, my brother did. We all respected where we grew up, and where we were living and enjoying it and playing. And I don't know, we just naturally did it.
Yeah.
Nobody had to tell us or teach us or
Right.
write down what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
How do we as a nation get back to respecting our environment the way it used to be respected?
Well, it just clean up your own backyard, and I think we're on that path. When we started, when I started with Keep America Beautiful in 1975, it was even my own hometown here in Lexington where we live. They didn't know what we were talking about. They didn't know what I was talking about. And I was a spokesperson and artist for Keep America Beautiful, and they didn't know. We were starting this clean and green campaign and clean communities system and planting flowers and all that sort of stuff. And even my own local town hadn't caught on yet. We just didn't. But that's what it takes. It just takes us all getting involved in doing that and respecting our environment. And I think it comes on by somebody doing a little here and somebody doing this and somebody doing that, and kind of showing what can be done. There's a lot to it. We were taking aerial photographs to see how much cleaner a place was a month later than we started, and that kind of thing. And but we were doing all kinds of stuff. That was way back, 1975.
It starts with accountability.
Yeah.
Each person's got to do their part.
Well, it's your world, and it's your God-given world, and you ought to respect it. And we did. When I was growing up, we respected it. My parents, my grandparents, and my forefathers respected it. And that's where I come from. I give them the credit, because everything I do goes back to my forefathers and mothers and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And the people who raised me,
Yeah.
black and white too, by the way,
That's right.
that raised me. They honestly raised me. And they raised me in a good way to not only respect people, but respect our environment and the God-given things that we were blessed with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, because I seen how my dad, when I went fishing with my dad, I seen how he would pick up after himself. He wouldn't leave stuff like that. So that's what I would do. And I even go as far as like the little tag end of my fishing line when I'm tying a lure on, I'll take that little piece of line and put it in my pocket. I don't even want that on the ground.
Yeah. I was in the Boy Scouts. I've been in the Boy Scouts forever. We got 5 Eagle Scouts in our family. I could never give back to the Scouts what they've given me. I went out to the first Western National Jamboree in 1952, and we were taught. That's what we were taught, and we not only taught, we just respected that. We learned a lot. I learned how to play poker in the Scouts too, by the way. But no. We learned how to take care of our. Picked up after our camping, picked up the cans and all that sort of stuff. we just did that. That was a scouting mantra,
Right.
and we just it was something that it wasn't almost taught. It was just expected, and we did it because it was a right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you quoted that the other day, and that is so true. Doing things because it is the right thing to do.
It was
is
the
very
right thing
important.
to do.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things like that. It's it's not our talents in life, it's our choices in life that make us become whatever we are, and whatever we succeed or don't succeed or whatever we do. And it's just I've had so many people that have been my mentors that have helped me. Good night of Moses. That's whatever it is I am. I'm just a piece of fabric woven from all these strings and these people, and woven into that fabric. My family, the people I knew, the rabbit hunters that I've known and hunted with, and taken me under their wing and set me on their lap and
Mm-hmm.
showed me how to build cars and showed me how to do this and that, paint and build houses and everything else. All those people I'm just a piece of tattered fabric. All these strings and all these woven things in my life. That's all I am.
Yeah. So as I looked around these walls and seen all the different game and fishes that you've caught, what would be the most memorable hunt that you think you've ever been on?
The most memorable, I don't know, because I've hunted and fished literally all over the world, and I think the ones with my grandkids and fishing with them and my kids and my brother. My brother's 5 years older than I am, and he took me everywhere. He took me hunting, fishing. We built our first cabin when I was 10. He was 15. And we had more fun in that cabin than you could have in the Taj Mahal.
Oh, I bet.
But I was following him around like a little puppy dog, and he carried me with him. And my dad was working; he carried me too. And my grandfather was an outdoorsman too. And but I got to go with my brother because 5 years difference. We were anyway. But it was those trips, and then I did that same thing with mine. In fact, I've just over this weekend, I'm trying to figure out how to get my little 8-year-old granddaughter up fishing, because I'm gonna take her fishing as soon as I can. All of them if I can, but when they get a little older.
Mm-hmm.
And but those are the best times
It
They
is.
are.
when you can teach somebody and you can take somebody and enjoy that. I got a grandson that's he would rather catch you a fish or call up a turkey for you than shoot the turkey or catch the fish himself. He'd rather you catch it.
Yep.
And that's the way I am.
Absolutely.
In my research, I seen that you quoted that you was inspired by Andrew Wyeth.
Andrew Wyeth. Andrew
Wyeth.
Wyeth was the motivation behind the art. I mean, but I met him through another friend, Dr. Margaret Handy, and she was 81 years old when I first met her in a parking lot. That's my life. Going in one door, out the other door, bumping into somebody, accidentally meeting somebody, whatever. Met her in a parking lot up in Chaddsford, Pennsylvania, and we got to talking, and that talk led to she inviting us to go. My mom and dad and Kay were there with us, with me later too, and so I got to know her, and I was having this kind of tug between what my life was going to be. I was comfortable in my life, but I was trying to run, operate, or work in 5 businesses, had 3 kids, owed everybody in the county, and yet this art thing was pulling and tugging and yanking at me, and somebody upstairs was saying, you can do this, you can do that, and whatever, and then I've got all these responsibilities. And there again, bam, I meet her in a parking lot in 1968. And she said, well, come up to the house and let me show you. We were up there visiting an art show for Mr. Wyeth. And I was standing by myself out in the parking lot, and she comes up. And so we go up to her house, and we see her art, her Andrew Wyeth art, and incredible. And I didn't know what to say. I mean, she had been gone all summer, and we were strangers. And from North Carolina, she'd just met in the parking lot, and she even gave me the number to take off her security system off her house. So anyway, I punched in the number, took her security system off, and paintings all over everywhere, by the way. And anyway, so we got to meet, and she was kind of a grandmother figure. She was the only person, she was a doctor. She was the only person that knew anything about art. And I didn't know who to even talk to about art.
Right.
So I got in the car, came home, and I'm thinking and mulling over and what my life's going to be, and all that sort of stuff. And so several months later, knowing that she was the only person, she'd given me her phone number. So I called her one night, and I asked her, after I'd worked all day, came home in the dark, raining, and it was winter, like February the 15th or something. And I came home one night frustrated and worn out, and walked through the house and just called her number. And it was almost like calling a therapist. I said, what must I do? I said, got this going on, that going on. And she's a doctor, grandmother figure, the only person I know that knows anything about art. My family doesn't know anything about art. I've never studied art. I don't know anything. I was 30 years old before I'd ever even seen an original piece of art.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So she got on the phone. She said she listened to me, rant and rave or whatever I did. And she said, well, why don't you just call Andy? I said, call Andrew Wyeth? And she said, yeah, just talk to him. I said, just call him. And she said, here's his number. So I wrote down the number, and fortunately didn't think about it. And I just dialed the number as soon as I hung up, and he answered. And I don't know what I said. I kind of poured out my thing, shorter version to him. And he said, oh, well, I'll just see you when you get here, when you're coming.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And that's how it happened. And so I think it was about 3 days later, Dad and I drove up there. And by that time, you see, the dumb thing I didn't do is I didn't give her a chance to talk to him, say anything to him. He didn't know what was going on. So by the time I got there, when I got there, she must have talked to him, because, they treated me like I was a long-lost nephew or whoever. They were so nice, it was pitiful, and took me in, and I had carried some paintings up there, and so got them out of the car and carried them in the house, and they looked at them, and he said, well, technically, I'll shorten this, but technically he just said, well, I don't know about all your business career and all the 5 businesses you're working in and the 3 kids you got and all that sort of stuff, and what your family thinks or does or knows or how they going to react, which I was worried about. He said, I don't know all that stuff, but said, you got a talent, obviously. You got a great talent. You ought to pursue it, and whatever your other life's like, that's, you ought to paint. So I got in the car. Dad was with me, but he didn't go to the Weiss. He waited on me. And so next morning, I didn't sleep much that night, but the next morning we got in the car and drove back home, Dad with me. But I couldn't talk to him about my grandfather and father and all had worked all their lives to build, to make a life for me, the businesses that we were in and all that. And I loved the businesses that we were in. And I was the creative guy in all our businesses. I was the mechanical person in all our business. I was working on trucks, and I was doing all the mechanical stuff and all that stuff. And so I enjoyed all that. But this art thing just was eating at me. So I just, we drove all the way home and didn't talk about what I'm thinking about. We talked about everything else except what if I stop work for all your things that you built for me and started painting. I didn't talk about that. So in fact, I was so, I don't know what you call it, but I was so mindful about all this other stuff. I ran out of gas up here on the Virginia line. Fortunately, we ran out near a gas station and got some gas and then drove on home. But then 11 months later, to make a long story short, I couldn't come home and tell Dad, my mother, my wife, and everything else that I was going to quit work and start painting. I couldn't do that.
Right.
So technically, for the next, it was almost 11 months. For the next 11 months, I showed everybody around me what I could do. I mean, I convinced them without asking, without telling. I convinced them, just, showing them that I had a talent, and that everybody seemed to know that. And anyway, and this God-given talent, I had known about it since I was little. I did the church scenery in church when I was 10 years old. I did all those things, and I knew I was destined to do some things, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And
I know how that feels
leads to
sometimes.
the chest and all that sort of stuff that we were working on. But I don't know how to explain my life, but I have been led along like somebody had a hold of my hand, leading me along, meeting the people I should meet, having them tell me what to do, literally knowing all along too that, having problems thinking, how am I going to do this, but literally realizing that I'm probably three people, because I'm the imagination guy with 10 impossible ideas before I wake up in the morning, almost before I have breakfast, and most of them are impossible too. But but from the guy that says, well, how you going to do it? And then there's another guy that says, well, we can do it if you just do it.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. I start things like building a car when I'm 15 years old out of 9 different cars, and have I don't know what I'm doing.
Which, by the way,
But I
he'll have to
figured
show
out
you
how.
that later.
But I figured out how to do it.
He'll have to show you
with
that.
the help
That's
of
nice.
somebody else.
Yeah. So it's going back to, it's funny, it's Wythe. Last night, my wife had actually said with, and I
it's
corrected her
Andrew
and
Wythe,
said
yeah.
Wythe. And
It's
then
stuck-
on
it's-
the show here, I said with, so she must have gotten my head there.
Well, our wives do get in our heads. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I had a question about one of his paintings that was pretty interesting to me as I got to studying it and looking at it. It's actually from 1991, and the title of it is Swifts. I don't know if you've seen
It's
it.
probably those the birds.
The birds that go down in the chimney.
Yeah.
Is that the logo on the top? That's pretty much your trademark. I was wondering if that was like a nod to him.
Well, that's
or-
Ben Franklin. The trademark is actually a quill.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, I don't remember even seeing that, but I know that I've heard the name and all that, and I've probably seen that. No, that's actually Ben Franklin did the first ones. The quill is mightier than the sword.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
the only thing that we, when I first started, actually it wasn't from that, but that's a good idea. But the quill's upside down too.
Yeah, I seen that.
But what happened was we didn't know of anything else, or I didn't know of anything else that pertained to art. So it was
You
just
picked the
either
perfect thing.
drawing or a painting or a quill or anything else. And everybody thinks it's a feather, but it's a quill. And it's Ben Franklin.
Okay. That
Okay.
is awesome. Yeah.
Well, sticking with the art theme, what would you think the easiest thing to paint, or a part like when you're sitting down to paint? What's the easiest thing, whether it's a sky or cloud or whatever it is?
I don't like to do skies and background stuff, and I don't dislike to do them, but that's not one of my favorite things. I don't know what I like the most. I think I love to draw. In here you can see my studies and things. I get carried away sometimes with just studies though that I'm just interested in. It's kind of like, in a painting, it's kind of like reading the best book you ever read, and you don't want to put it down. I'm sure, well, a lot of people have started reading a book and they couldn't even go to sleep at night because I mean, I've read books where I didn't want it to end, and I do paintings all the time that I don't want it to end. And so I'm out there doodling on a sheet that I usually put down a piece of paper on my easel where I write, I got a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or a quote I read or whatever, and or get at church or whatever. In fact, I got one here. I got Sunday that I'll read later, but anyway. But I write those things down, and while studies are interesting. I'm rambling, but pen and inks, pencil drawings, and those usually are the start of every painting.
Right.
And I'll usually carry them longer than it's necessary, and I will take longer on a painting sometimes because I want it to end.
Right.
And even if it ends at 2:00, I'm still doodling on that background on paper or something, drawing something else. Maybe it would have been a better idea if I do it like that. I mean, I'm changing my ideas all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody asks me, where do you come up with an idea for a painting? That's not the question. It's the question of trying to choose 200 or 300 things I want to do at a time. I can't do enough. I can't live long enough to do what I want to do.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of painting, I got a few questions here from Tiffany. She wanted me to ask a couple questions in particular. What is your favorite place to paint?
My favorite place.
Like what location that you feel
here, I'm painting here in the gallery now. That I've moved from a studio, and what's so great about that, my studio was out in the woods, and I was rambling, walking, and picking up 4-leaf clovers and seeing wildlife and all that, and that's great. But there were 5 houses down there, and I think I had 5 refrigerators, 5 air conditioners, and fence. And every time I drove up the driveway, I was trying to figure out, do I need to fix this fence, or did that air conditioning isn't working, or
Right.
I mean, I did all the things that you do at home, but 4 or 5 times more. And so I was having to look after all that by myself, and electrician or anything. There was all kinds of things to do. So I got diverted a lot. And when I moved up here, I'm 87, and it was stupid me running around, and I'm falling right in the woods and falling in stump holes and off of fences and everything else and climbing trees. And so when I got up here, I found out that, golly, I could work 24 hours a day up here because everything's at my right hand.
Right.
And I've got people that can help me. I mean, I don't work on the air conditioning. I call somebody to help me.
Right.
And it just didn't dawned on me how much time and how much worry and how much how much else I had to do.
Right.
And now when I moved, it was almost like I was stupid. I just didn't realize how much better off I'd be up here.
Right.
And I'm up, and I've got my own place here, and it's quiet, and I can work there. But my thing is too, I am bored if I'm not creating something.
Right.
I mean, if it's furniture designs, which I did some last night and brought it up here this morning back here in the back and showed it to Dan a while ago. And I'm meeting with them tomorrow, Wednesday. And I'm always working with somebody. I mean, I designed that rug right there at your feet, sitting in front of a TV up in the mountains one time. But there's just so many. I'm gonna be doing something all the time,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm not whole. I'm not whole and happy if my mind isn't creating something.
Right. I told Nathan you love to draw jack-o'-lanterns.
I'm a Halloween nut. You know, I mean,
That's what the next question is. Tiffany asked, "What is your favorite season to portray, to draw?"
Winter. Oh, I love snow in winter. By far.
I can tell.
I've even told my doctor a couple of times. We just talking. It's sort of strange. I love people seek immortality and eternity all their lives,
Yeah.
and yet they don't even know what to do on a rainy Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Golly Moses! I mean, I created my own worlds when I was growing up, and I create my own worlds now. I mean, I can. Let's put it this way: I can entertain myself anywhere, anytime. But I don't know why, but I just want to create things and do things like that. But but going back to Halloween, I've always loved Halloween. But snow and stormy weather, cold. I mean, I can always get warmer, but I can't get cooler. So I do not like hot weather, and I do love cold weather. And the colder the better. And I love snow, sleet, and actually I fished in snow, sleet, and rain and everything else, and I did too. And I don't know. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, one of the paintings that
Stormy weather.
Yeah, going through some of your paintings, I think the snow at the studio, that's probably one of my favorites. Again, because when you was talking about snow, to me, that fresh snow, it's just like makes everything so pure.
I can wake up. We hadn't had one in 2 or 3 years.
We have,
but
right.
I can wake up in the morning and tell if it's snowed. I can tell from the muffled sounds whether it's snowed or not overnight. I literally can do that. Now, if you think hard about it, you probably can too.
Right.
Cars are muffled, birds are not singing. I mean, it's sort of. I can tell if it snowed last night. I can tell.
It has a somber feel to it in the air.
It's like the woods and the fields and the trees and the forest and all that stuff. It's almost like the snow opens them up like a skeleton too. It just kind of opens up a book and it just spills it all out. You can see where you couldn't see stumps and trees and foxes and birds and stuff before. Now that there's snow in the woods and stuff, you can see all these fallen trees. You can see stumps. You can see the fox walking by. I mean, I just winter is my favorite time of the year.
Next question, the last one. What personal experiences in your life stand out the most?
Personal experiences? Seeing my first baby born, I think, or not seeing it born, but seeing her born, but after she was born and realizing what the world was like now. I mean, I think that was enlightening. Let's put it that way. That was, a light bulb sort of goes off in your head.
It does.
And I know it did in mine. I was not the only one to be responsible to, and I wasn't. I was responsible to Kay too, my better 3/4s, but this little thing was something different. This little thing was it was defenseless, was tiny, totally defenseless and dependent on me or somebody or us.
Right, yeah.
And I think that probably was.
I can definitely concur that.
And I can remember everything about it too.
Me as well. In fact, my first is actually here as my camera girl today.
She's cute too. She's
Was
grown up though.
yeah, she is. don't remind me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to take us a quick break. We'll be right back in just a minute. I wanted to discuss with you. This is one of the things I was actually most excited to ask you, talk to you about. The future of art and where that's heading, what,
Future of art.
yes, the future of art. What artist of today do you see making a big impact on the world or, the direction that art is going?
Actually, I'm not. That's a question I really can't answer. I admire so many artists, and when I started my career, I was just trying to promote North Carolina art and any art. I just let me read you this thing I saw in church Sunday. It's about hiding your talents under a bushel. It's the same old thing. We had this Sunday. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. When I started painting, I was so excited, and I still am. It was like if I saw the best movie in the world, I wouldn't shut up till I told you.
Right.
I had found the most exciting thing in the world that anybody could possibly ever do, and was having the chance and the opportunity and being encouraged to do it. And I was screaming it. I mean, I was trying to, and in the art world, there are two things I want to be sure and say something about the art world too, about the nicest quote we ever had for my furniture and creating stuff. But a lot of the criticism that I got, which everybody gets criticism if you get up here in the tree, you're easy shot in the top of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But the criticism I got, and I could never understand it, I did, but not really, was from artists and some art critics, and not because of what I did. They were saying, some of them, not all of them, but some of them were upset that I would be so vocal and so excited about what I was doing and sharing it and screaming it and saying, you just got to see this, you got to see that. I think some of the artists and some of the scholastic folks thought you ought to paint in a barn, or not in a barn, but in a cave or something. And if somebody saw it, then came by, and then bam, they saw it, and that was great.
Yeah.
But I mean, for you to say something about how excited you were doing about your own work was a no-no. And that was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. So I'm out here screaming how much fun I'm having and how much I enjoy it. And these people that are supposed to be artists and supposed to be in the art world were saying, oh, no, you don't do that, you don't do that. And I have still to this day, I mean, I've been doing this, I'm 87 years old, and I started when I was little. And I mean, I just still don't understand why you don't want to share something you love so much, a God-given talent or whatever it is. If you love it that much, why in the world you wouldn't share it with everybody you know?
That's right.
Mhm.
And I mean, I just never have been able to. I do understand it. I understand what they're saying, but it just astounded me. So I didn't shut up. So I got criticized and everything else. But what I was going to say a while ago, and you made me think, one of the best criticisms that we had when I started, this was after I'd been painting and all that sort of stuff. And in the 80s, the late 80s, we started creating a world of furniture and art. And I mean, I'm building houses. I don't know how many houses I built. I built 5 lake houses. I've done 8 log houses. I've built apartments, duplexes. I mean, anyway, and I was my own architect when I was 12. I was drawing my own house plans when I was 12 years old. I'd built 2 cars by the time I was 17.
Man, the talent.
But my point of the story is when I got started doing the furniture and lifestyle, which was rugs and coffee tables and quilts and everything else, pottery that I loved. It wasn't me designing it so much. I was trying to show people all the things that I love that I surrounded myself with. And all these artisans, all these craftspeople, all these artists, and all these unbelievable furniture makers, and all like Fred Craver back here that I've shown you, one of my mentors. All these people, it was not me, the designer, it was me collecting together all these people and showing and having a place for them to show their carvings or their pottery or their art or whatever. It was not me, the designer, it was me, the collector. And so when I started doing that, not the criticism, but the accolades that I got from really higher up were that, Bob, you have changed the way the art world is. And I said, well, what do you mean? I didn't mean to change the way the art world was. Back many years ago, back when the Pope was collecting art and all the hierarchy was collecting art, the wealthy people collecting art and stuff and putting it in museums and stuff like that. And I've been invited to have museum shows in a lot of different places. But when the elite took art to a level that you and I couldn't, and my friends really weren't a part of.
Yeah.
The art was up here. It was in a class that we couldn't afford to see and it was put to places that we couldn't see. And crafts was down here making chairs and making a chair as if an angel was going to sit in it.
Yeah.
The Amish, that's a quote the Amish made. They were making crafts and making, building houses and making, using the hands and woodworking and weaving and making pottery and stuff like that. So you had the art up here and crafts down here. Well, the comment that we got that was so wonderful was that we had brought it all back together. That I was told singularly, you have brought art and crafts back together. And that's very self-satisfying.
That's one of the things
that is whether it's brick or whether it was wood, whether it was quilts, decoys, those old things that were made years and years and years ago. And I mean, I have been invited to I've talked to in deep discussions with the Hermitage in Russia, with 2 of the finest museums in London, I've had 7 shows in New York. I've had shows sold out where nobody's ever had shows sold out exhibitions. I've been in anyway. So I have had all of that happen, and some of those things, like in Russia, would have been, and that was entirely what we decided there, that it was so expensive and so
Yeah.
time consuming. It would have taken me, forever. If you have a sold out exhibition in New York, and you have, say, 40 paintings in it, and it's all sold out, well, it takes you 2 years just to get another 20 or 30 paintings together.
Right.
And if you're going to have them in an exhibit, you can't sell them. So if you're selling out your exhibits, it's a different story than having one here and one here and one here, one after the other. You can't do that because you can't physically have the paintings. And if you even have them, if you sell them before the show, you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it was a complicated. Well, it was a great situation to be in, but it was kind of complicated.
Right.
And but anyway, I'm fortunate to do what I'm doing. The Lord's blessed me so many ways with all these children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and all my friends and the people that I've been able to. One of the blessed things I've had is all the people I've been able to meet and work with and sit down and talk with, like we're talking. There's so many things I wish I could tell people. This chest back here, that I've told you about is. I lay awake at night thinking about how in the world did that happen? If people knew the story that I know back in the back of my mind, how I was just absolutely just led along by my hand and didn't know it. I didn't know I was being led along, led through this door opening for me, that door closing for me. I've had frustrations. I said, oh, golly, I'm going to quit doing this or whatever, and not knowing that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
It's just, negative things that happen to you sometimes are the best things that could happen to you. So anyway, and you learn, and the critics that I've had over the years, I didn't even bother that because I knew in my heart, everything I do is from my heart. If I don't paint from my heart, or build furniture from my heart, or build anything from my heart, it's not the same. It's not if it's not from my feelings and my heart, it doesn't. I'm not happy with it. Not satisfied with it.
Absolutely. And that one of the things I admire the most about you is, first of all, we're nobody. We're somebody, but we're getting to sit down and talk with you, and you're open to talking with us. But then also looking through your gallery, you like you were talking about, you allow other artists to be able to be represented inside your gallery. That is very special.
Well, that's when I started. When we started out, first gallery was downtown in Lexington, up here down near the Y, and that's when we had North Carolina art in there and everything else. I was on the board. We started the North Carolina Arts Watercolor Society. Gosh, that was 1962, I think, and out here at Yarber's restaurant. And it was from all kinds of art and stuff. And golly Moses, just all the things, I can't tell you all the things. It's just, but it's like when I was doing furniture, and we were very successful with the furniture, the most successful furniture in the history of the world. And I would be at a restaurant, and a salesman from another company would come up to me, and I knew a lot of the salesmen. I knew a lot of the people in the furniture business. I grew up with them and all that stuff. They'd come over to me and said, Bob, man, this furniture looks great. And I said, well, how's yours doing? They said, it's doing great. And I had this happen over and over and over, honestly, many, many times. They'd say, well, a rising tide raises all the ships. So my success in furniture, you can't even believe what it did. We had 26 different major manufacturers knock me off at one market at High Point one time. So what is that quote about it? Imitation of whatever. But it wasn't that. We were applauding that. We were trying to help everybody else. We were doing everything we could to help everybody else. And I did the same thing with art. Did the same thing with art. Some of them folks didn't appreciate that, but I was. And Kay and I started art galleries in little towns and all over the state. We gave them art. We gave them the money to start it, to buy the thing. And we started with 4th and 5th graders. And we gave them the money. We gave them the idea. We gave them 5 or 6 pieces of miniature art so they could put it in the library or wherever. And then we gave them away. I gave them prints every year so that they could go out, the little 4th and 5th graders could go out, 2 strings attached. The 4th and 5th graders had to buy the art, not the mamas or the art teacher.
Right.
And it had to be North Carolina art. 2 things we said to get the money and everything else, they had to do 2 things. Okay. It was the little kids buy the art, and they had to go to the North Carolina Museum of History or museum in Raleigh or somewhere else. So every year they would take the money they raised from the print I gave them, go out and raffle it or whatever. The 4th and 5th graders now, selling, Girl Scout cookies or whatever. So whatever money they raised, they could go out and buy another piece of art.
That is awesome.
So, but we've done that all my life. So,
what advice would you give to kids or young adults that are aspiring to be artists?
Oh, show everywhere you can and get your art out in front of people, and try and shout it to the rooftops how much you love it. And I don't see it like I used to. When I first started, honestly and truly, I mean, I got people, it's weird. I don't know what it was, but when I started in 1970, it's not the same world now. Now, I have artists all the time come in, and gosh, Moses, it's more fun for me it's like my grandson. He hunts turkeys, but he doesn't want to hunt turkeys. He wants to see somebody else hunt the turkey. Yeah. He wants to fishing. He'd rather you catch you a trout than catch it himself.
Absolutely.
And so, it's me. I'm the same way. I would rather see her do something like that. And my grandkids, and they are all, by the way, unbelievably talented. Unbelievable. And the talent that I see now blows my mind. It's just the computers, the things they've got now. We didn't have a TV until I was 15 years old, and thank goodness we didn't. But we had some tools in the basement, some wood tools and stuff like that, which made me, gave us time to work together with my dad at night and stuff like that, and gave me the time to express myself instead of sitting in front of a TV.
Yeah.
And thank goodness I had that, and my brother too carried me out, and we didn't have all that stuff to keep. We kept busy by making our own world. We created our own worlds, and we created our own fun, and made up our own fun, and made up our own creative ideas. And if it wasn't a good idea, it wasn't a good idea. But we still, we did them and learned from the bad ones and made the good ones.
I feel like technology is taken away from imagination.
Yeah.
Imagination is more important than knowledge. Einstein.
Yeah.
And that is so true. It's pitiful.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Everything that's done, and I've worked with some unbelievable people, creating cells and multiple cells, creating things from cells. And I've worked with Duke. I've worked with Baptists over here. Evan has too. But imagination is the forefront and the beginning of everything. You got to imagine it before you can do it. You truly do have to. And if you can have 6 impossible ideas before breakfast every morning, then maybe one of those 6 is a good idea.
Inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's just, I wish my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, I hope, will have the outdoors and have the sense of conservation.
Yes.
And protecting our wildlife, which I've always done. Right over there's the conservation award right there. The first one ever given, by the way, with them. I got the first Iron Eyes Cody award too, by the way. But just it's not the first of this or that or award or whatever it is. It's just, we did it with my brothers. Inspiration, my dad's, my mom's, my family, my forefathers, all the way back to the patriots that gave up their lives for our independence. All of that I appreciate all that, and I know all that, and it's in my soul and it's in my heart.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an amazing time to get to sit down and talk with you, and I hope everybody enjoys the show.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for everything you've done for this community. And
Well, thank you. It's not me doing it for the community. It's this community that everybody says, are you going to move somewhere? Or anyway, I can't imagine living anywhere else that, as we've talked, 22 generations from the 2 patriots that gave up their lives for our freedom and our independence. We're right here we're 3 miles from where they're buried, but 22 generations between Kay and I. So we feed off of wherever it is we came from and whatever we're made of. That's what makes us tick.
Yeah.
And I hope my little ones are, they're all doing better things than I could ever do. I mean, they're doing so far. I mean, I had an Etch-a-Sketch. You remember what an Etch-a-Sketch? That's what I had.
Yeah.
That was a computer I had. But I mean, they're all doing amazing things, and they will do. I just hope I'm here to see some of the things they do, or watch them.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are all very successful.
Well, as long as they're happy, and that's
true.
I don't.
Yeah.
Success is another thing we need to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
And success and money is another thing we need to talk about. Long discussions on what's important in life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because success don't come from money, and happiness is, which you can tell that by your resume. But the things that you mention the most is your family and your grandkids.
Oh well,
and,
that's the simplest answer in the world, because I mean, Kay, my better 3/4. I mean, I just left her this morning. It just I don't know how to explain it. And you know, how did that happen? I mean, we grew up in the same town. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, meeting Dr. Handy, but you know, I think I always knew that if she would marry me, that I was going to marry her. Which sometimes she was 12 years old. I mean, I was out here, and I mean, I'm all over the world. I'm driving back and forth to Myrtle Beach when I'm 14 years old.
right.
I'm working on the beach. I'm renting rafts when I'm 10 on the beach.
Yeah.
I worked at the pavilion. I've painted houses. I've laid brick. I've laid rock. I mean, all these things. You bounce around, and you bounce around and bounce around and bounce.
What does she think about your 6 ideas or 10 ideas every morning?
Oh, she ain't paying attention to that. She knows. Well, she knows there's 6.5 of them aren't good ideas. No, Dan has to see. You saw Dan a while ago. Dan has to put up with me coming in here. Golly, you just wait till you see what we're gonna do today.
Yeah.
He said, Papa, we can't do that. We can't. So, but no, I mean that actually is one of the things that drove me to painting. I think, because I had so many ideas in the businesses that I was working in, and my brother and the guy that was running our gas company at the time, I had so many ideas. I was overwhelming. I ran our biggest office up in Winston-Salem. I'm talking about in the propane business.
Right.
But I was building houses and duplexes and apartments and all these other things at the same time. And so, I mean, I was dreaming about, all these ideas, but other people that don't do that way, say, well, we can't. They're more practical. How are we going to pay for it?
That's
How are you going to, there are other questions than coming home and saying, God, I got this great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you going to?
Yeah.
But that's what
Tiffany
Dan
reminds
says.
me of that a lot.
Yeah. I come in and say, well, Dan says, when are we going to do that? We got 10 other things we're working on. So, and there's a lot, but what happens is you feed off of some that work, some that don't, or part of one that was the idea, part of this one, part of that one. But you still want to have the ideas. And it's not before breakfast, man. I have them in the shower at night too.
Yeah.
I have 5 or 6 in the shower.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem, I forget them.
Yeah.
By the time I got out of the shower, I forget 2 or 3 of and I sit there and think about, that was a great idea. Well, I can't remember. And that's the honest truth. I forget most of them.
Yeah. I have
But
that
you
issue
think if
sometimes.
it's any good, you think about it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll do something that makes you think about it later.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, it's just like this furniture. I didn't want it made in China. Took us 20-some years to get where we are now.
Yeah. Well, that's admirable too.
20, almost 25 years to figure it really out. And we had some ideas along the way, but we did this, we did that. But finally, we're where we want to be now.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely
Because
beautiful.
we're on the precipice, on the beginning, and you got to do it right when you do it too. You can mess up by being too excited. And I've done that before too, but you just try to do the best you can sometimes, and that's what we're trying to do now.
Got any more questions?
No, I pretty much covered it.
I thought he went to sleep.
I thought so too.
He
Yeah.
was sitting over there nodding.
He
a while
looks
ago.
comfortable, don't he?
He was sitting over there.
It's this furniture you got him on.
He was sitting over there just like that's what I got.
I should have made him sit on the bricks.
That is, well, we could have gotten you a cushion.